We are live. We are live.
Woo!
The second we go live, we got Thrillseeker already off camera. What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming. Make sure to leave a like. That way this gets out there. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to share with a friend. Let me know how my voice is before we introduce our guests. Make sure everyone can hear me. But welcome to the chat. We got Captain Glitterfingers, Will the Man, Mighty Troy, Icelink X, maybe a future guest right there. We got Vidolo, V-Kings, Turtles in the house. Let me know in the chat, though, how the voice sounds. We'll give it a second, guys. Looks like we are possibly all good to go.
There you go.
Alright, guys. Looks like we're good to go on the chat. So, welcome to the VR Arena. This is going to be episode number 1. It's going to be a little different than other streams we've done in the past. We will have guests on every single week. They can be creators, they can be enthusiasts, they can be fans, they can be anyone. If you have a voice, you have VR opinions, you are welcome on. All guests will basically be asked questions as a group. Each one will have a minute or less to respond, and then the floor will be open for a little bit of time to openly debate or talk about the subject before moving on to the next question. If you guys have any questions as well in the chat, please let me know. I'll be monitoring the chat as much as I can, and if I see any questions come up that would be a good topic for debate, and we aren't already talking about them, we will jump on there. But let's get into basically introductions at this point. We're going to start with DyVRsion, lucky number 1. First up, most recently he hit the high seas with his gameplay and thoughts collecting booty on Battle Wake, so make sure to check out his most recent vid. But soon enough he will be YouTube famous and have all the booty he needs. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're currently doing in the VR world, DyVRsion.
Well, like I said, my name is DyVRsion. I've been in YouTube actually just since April, so I'm kind of a newbie at it. But I love VR. I've been a fan since ever since I heard about it. I actually didn't get my own VR headset until actually back in November, so I'm fresh with that as well. But once I had it, I couldn't help but want to share how awesome VR is with as many people as I could. So I decided to share it on YouTube, be part of the movement for VR, and try to move it as far as I could. But yeah, other than that, if I'm not wearing a headset, I'm a family guy with my beautiful wife and kids.
Hell yeah, we're glad to have you. Thank you for joining. Next up, we're going to go with the Ninjoe himself. Now, if you haven't checked out VR Ninjoe's channel, his thumbnails and setup, as you can see it right here in his video, are so smooth. He is the real smooth criminal. Tell us a little about yourself and what you're doing on in the VR world.
All right, so again, my name is VR Ninjoe, and I mean, I like to do a lot of Let's Plays. I like to do reviews when I can. But my main thing I've been really doing is just kind of finding really cool ways to do stuff. You know, like I had a video not too long ago where, you know, you can kind of do the side loading to get Bluetooth going on your Quest, things like that. Things on how to really improve your tracking of PlayStation VR. That's kind of really more where my focus is, but I definitely do a lot of Let's Plays as well. I've been on VR since 2016 when I first got my Vive, and I have not stopped since. So can't wait to see where it goes.
Amen. Appreciate you coming. And last but not least, we have Thrillseeker himself, the man with no face, coming at you with VR news on News Weekly. Some say this, when he hits 100K subs, he will be doing full nude body and face. Tell us about yourself and what you're currently doing in the VR world.
Well, I'm not saying that just yet, but I'm not leaving anything off the table. So, yeah, I make flat videos about VR games, and really I make reviews, news. Kind of my content changes every few weeks. I'm trying out different things with commentary and different stuff. So it's kind of a growing thing for me. I've just, seeing what I like best, making videos about VR stuff, but generally I just love VR. That's it.
Hey man, I think we all do, and that's why we are going to be very opinionated today. Couple rules. I think this goes without saying. I have no worries about it with you three in here, but please be open, please be honest, whatever's on your mind. Although you're welcome when it's open to interrupt and say your piece, just always be respectful, guys. Just because we disagree with each other's opinions every now and then doesn't mean we disagree with each other. It's just opinions. So with that being said, I do want to jump in right away. And as you can see in the backdrop here, we're going to be talking about the Valve Index controllers first. I think it's no surprise to anyone if you've been paying attention to them. There have, of course, been some hardware issues on the first run, second run, and basically people are still having issues with them. For Valve itself and the consumer, is this a big deal, little deal, or no deal to you? And we're going to start with DyVRsion. You have about a minute.
Well, definitely, I think it's a big deal, especially with the forward click and the thing that most people are encountering. I actually personally haven't had the issue with it, but I do have the squeak with the trigger. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But yeah, it's definitely a big deal. I think the fact that, at least from last time that I've encountered it, they haven't really had a good resolution with it, and they're not really stating anything about what they're going to do to resolve this issue, which I feel like it's kind of concerning. But with the new technology, of course, but they've been working on it for years, so you would expect that it's kind of polished and wouldn't have these issues right away. But for the most part, I think it is kind of a big deal, and they need to work that out. And I don't know exactly how they're going to, but they should probably come out with some kind of statement on how they're going to resolve this.
Thrill, what's your take?
So I've already made my video take on it, which was pretty raw. But generally, so they say this is how this is supposed to be manufactured, right? That's or at least that was the stance. That has changed since. I really kind of think that they should have halted the production of the controllers or stopped the shipment of these controllers, because there are some people say that they never use the button, but I personally use the button in almost every game that I play. So I haven't returned mine because I don't have that problem as bad as some people. But if you have that problem, you just have to remap, and there's not that many buttons on these controllers, so you're just kind of screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And want to finish strong, VR Ninjoe?
I mean, I don't have the index because I took a wait and see approach, and sure enough, people are having problems with it, which sucks. But I mean, here's the thing: I remember like 2 or 3 years ago, we were saying the knuckles. So they've been working on this thing for quite some time. They could have ironed this thing out, but instead of actually, trying to bring along some sort of a fix, they're doing what I used to do when I was a car salesman. That's not a problem; it's a feature, and. You see what I'm saying? And it's really not cool that they're doing it this way, but from what I understand, they are going to make good on these things. I hear that they're going to. I don't know if they really are, but that's the main reason I'm still holding off. I mean, everything else I hear about the unit is fantastic, but guys, this thing is $1,000. This thing should be pristine.
I agree completely. And if anyone in the chat, if you do have any comments or questions on the index controllers, please let me know. We'll make sure to talk about those. I know I've spoken about my issues with the index, and actually I am returning it tomorrow. They're already in the box because at this point, even in Pavlov, just moving forward with my left thumbstick, it will not work. So I have to strafe kind of like Michael Jackson backwards. Anyone who's played with me recently has kind of seen that, and it's pretty funny, me trying to move in Pavlov. But from the standpoint of, it seems like it's obviously a hardware problem. That's not disputable. It's a hardware issue. I know Thrill speaks to some people at Valve similar to I do, and it doesn't really seem like there's a fix coming. How do you guys think, and this is open to anyone now, how is this going to impact the Valve Index moving forward? Is anyone incentivized to get these controllers now?
I think it definitely is going to affect the people ordering now. I mean, are they still on back order right now or no?
I think right now they're open.
No?
To
wide
everybody.
Open now.
So, I mean, I would think it would slow down production, or at least slow down sales, because, I mean, if I didn't buy one already, I'd definitely be waiting even longer. Like I said, I don't have the issue currently right now, but I'm kind of expecting it now because of how many issues I've heard from so many people. So, yeah, definitely, I think that will affect sales.
Is the fact that it's open to be ordered immediately already, is that a problem in itself? I mean, you see the Quest and the Rift S. Now, granted, price point is going to be big, but the fact that some are still availability issues in the Index are just immediately now ready to go, is that a good sign or a bad sign?
I think it's a mistake. I think they should have held off. I really think they should have just really tried to focus on getting this thing right, so that way they can get it out to the masses, because all they're going to have is more people complaining, more people bitching. It's not good.
Yeah, my thing was that I don't understand how this controller is so amazing. Like, I was in VR chat for hours last night messing around, showing people, my hands moving around, flipping people off and whatnot. I don't understand how they get everything so right about the whole system, but they can't get like the one thing that has been established in controllers for like literally 2 decades. It's, analog sticks have been a part of controllers for probably about 20 years now, and they've been good. So, like, why can't they take the one thing that is already established and good and just put that on their awesome controller because everything else is fantastic about it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there's more than as these runs keep going. If there is a fix, I'm excited to see my next controllers because I mean I'm using this today. I put a little tweet out about it. I had to use my Vive ones today that play Pavlov on my index, and I hated it. I forgot how big those things were, and now I'm too used to joysticks. I do
like
want to
holding 2 bricks.
It really is. I feel like I got a weapon in my hand with those things. I do want to go on to the next one because I think the next one's going to be something that we talk about a lot more as a group continuously. But I see it talked about on Reddit, on Facebook, Discord, everywhere. The argument that there's just a lack of games or a lack of experiences to basically be played, and this is as more evident on basically the on the Oculus Quest than anything else. In your opinion, do you agree, disagree? What is your take on the experiences to be had right now in VR? And I'm gonna start again with DyVRsion.
For experiences, I think definitely the games and the content that's out there is key. I think it's very important. But I also think that for like PC gamers with the other headsets like the Index and the other ones, it's not so much. I think it's more for the big consumers, the console type people like I kind of came out of. I never did PC gaming before I did VR with the Vive and stuff like that. But for me, I expect quality, and I think with the Quest, that's kind of what you need to get. But not so much with the other headsets. So I think it's something that they need to work on. I think they need to have a bigger list of games that they have, and they don't have that right now. So I think that's kind of affecting the growth that they could have right now.
Thrillseeker?
So we have to look at where VR is and how long this has been a thing, right? We didn't get these consumer headsets until 2016. They didn't really even take off until 2017. So you look at how long it takes to develop a big game. That's 2-3 years. So that's why now, this year and beginning of next year, we're seeing these incredible games like Boneworks, we're seeing Asgard's Wrath, we're seeing Stormland, we're seeing all of these huge games that's what makes VR work is the software, because we have the hardware. So yeah, I think it's a problem, but we're on the tail end of it, and it's getting better every few months. I have games that I like playing a lot, but those games aren't for everybody, and that's why as this thing grows bigger, we're going to get more and more good titles coming that attracts more people, and the more people you get, the more money the industry makes, the more games you get. It's a big a snowball. There we go. It's a snowball effect. So it'll get better.
And before we get in with VR Ninja, I do want to clarify one thing that's on the chat. For Snooki was asking if there's anything, or excuse me, Captain Glitterfingers was also asking if there's any Quest competitors coming soon. Someone did bring up the HTC Cosmos, but I know this is kind of a confusing point, but the Cosmos should be seen as PC VR first and always. Sure. It is not a standalone headset. It may have an ability to do standalone-ish things later on, but if you're looking into that and holding off on the Quest, they're not the same at all. So Cosmos is PC VR, Quest will be standalone. Sorry to cut you off there, VR Ninja, but you're up.
All right, cool. We're not there yet. I mean, Thrill said it. Every few months, we're getting closer and closer, but we're not there yet. It's virtual reality. Right now, it's more like limited reality. You're walking around, you think, oh, you know what, that'd be really cool if I could actually, and it's kind of hard to come up with an example off the top of my head, but just something that would make it feel a little bit more real, and you can't do it. Like, maybe what if I could pick this up, and what if I can actually, like, open this can of beer, and what if, do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We're not there yet. The problem, I think, and again, Thrill, you said this too, given the development cycle, the cost, everything involved with it, a lot of these companies, they're just trying to get something out there so they can actually either justify VR or they can, CCP it and jump away from it as quickly as possible. And that's why we're getting limited experiences. Now, I don't know if you guys have played Vertigo 2 demo yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's getting there. Mm-hmm. It's not there yet, but it is definitely getting there. I mean, I don't think we're going to get Grand Theft Auto or anything like that anytime soon, but gotta hope so.
Oh man, yeah, for sure.
So this will be open.
That would do it.
This will be open to the group, but I want to. Thrill said something, and him and I have talked about this before, and I do agree with him that there are a lot of big AAA titles coming out, like Boneworks, that's been talked about quite a bit. Do you all have any thoughts on? And this will be open to anyone. Are we putting too much pressure and too much hype focus on these AAA games? Because if they don't deliver, that just sets a lot of expectations back. Or should we be focusing on helping spread the word, raise money, whatever we can do to help out the small developers who may have the ability to try things out because they're not as invested, or sorry, they are invested, but they do not have investors and everyone else barking up their back. Should we be focusing on the AAA titles and wanting those more, or focusing more on developers making games like T for God, for example?
I want innovation. Honestly, I think we should really be like striving to see more innovation. I mean, I understand mainstream adoption is the key. I know that. Everybody here knows that. But mainstream adoption is not going to happen until there's a reason for it to happen. And you know, you got your just your standard people. I can't even talk right now, but your normal Joe come along, puts it on, he gets sick within seconds, and he's done. Doesn't even want to try it ever again because he's like, yeah, it wasn't that fun. I mean, I think I was shooting at some robot or something. We need to have more innovation, something that they're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm a little queasy, but I'm going to try this a little bit longer. Hey, I feel better, and then they get into it. You see, that's how we're going to get to that area where we are mainstream. That's what I think.
Anybody else on that?
I agree with Ninjoe on that one. I also think that I think the big AAA titles, they don't need us talking about that. They're just people are gonna find out anyways. We don't need to promote them. I think it's the small developers that we need to focus on. And I mean, they got some great content, and I think even with hyping up the big AAA titles or any other titles, anytime you hype something up, it's never gonna meet somebody's expectations. Anytime I talk about a movie or somebody promotes a movie, the longer I'm waiting for it, the less I like the game or the movie that I watch. It's about finding out at the moment and watching it. That's when I enjoy it the most.
So
yeah,
analogy. It's a good analogy.
It's all about that indie dev spotlight. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, Thrill.
Sorry, I mean that wasn't really a plug. Anyways, really,
plug away.
We also have to realize that the games that we have now, VR is being carried by indie devs. From the beginning to this point, it has been carried by indie devs, by single developers. Like, look at Pavlov, look at Big Screen, look at Rec Room. All these games are created by such small teams that are just dedicated. They're not making much money, dude. Like, they spend hundreds and hundreds of hours. Who knows if they're hiring people, whatever, to go develop these games, and they're selling to a few thousand people, or and there's not a lot of money to be made in it yet, but they are the people that are expanding and pushing VR forward. So we really need to give them some love for sure.
100%.
I agree.
So next up, and this will go kind of along with the games talk, but this is going to be a question now to each of you individually. When it comes to new games coming out, obviously in my mind, the two big AAA titles that I'm thinking of in my head is Boneworks, which we have in the background now. We also have Stormlands in the out there, and there's a couple other ones, Asgard's Wrath. All three of those are more single-player focused. Do you think for the next wave of that system seller, that console seller, is it going to be a single-player VR game, or is it going to be a multiplayer VR game? I want to start with DyVRsion.
Multiplayer. Sorry.
That's all good.
Hey, I was about to jump in too.
Hand on the buzzer.
Right.
Go ahead, DyVRsion. We'll take yours.
So you cut in a little bit for me. What was that again?
So basically the question is, when it comes to the next big game that's going to drive system sales, basically, some people are saying, Beat Saber right now is one of the system sellers for the Quest. A lot of people brought that up. For the next system seller game that's going to appeal, whatever it is, to Quest, PC VR, do you think it's going to be more single-player based or multiplayer based, and why?
Definitely multiplayer based. I think that's the one big issue that I've always had with VR. It's kind of a lonely thing when you have a group of people coming over and one person's in the headset and everybody else is just watching, and you can't do it together. I think co-op games and multiplayer games are definitely where it's at. I'm more of a co-op kind of game person. I love being with another friend playing co-op instead of multiplayer, because I'm not as good as some of those multiplayers, but definitely multiplayer and co-op is where it's at.
Thrillseeker?
Yeah, it's funny that you said about people coming in. I just traded all my real life friends for virtual friends. But yeah, multiplayer is the way to go. Look at the biggest games played on flat screens right now. They're all multiplayer games, all of them. And that's not saying anything about the industry, really. That's just saying what people want to play. And that's including myself. I'm an Overwatch junkie. Like, dude, I love Overwatch, and that's not because of the game per se. That's because of the connections and friends and playing with people online. And my interactions in VR, I love single-player games. They're super fun, and you can get a really tight, curated story that is really, emotionally and time investing. But whenever you have something that has social interaction, the things that are limited in terms of a game are expanded in terms of your social interaction, if that makes sense. Like VR chat, dude, that is not a game, right? That's barely a game. But how many people have sunk thousands of hours into that game, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And that's literally a social feature. That's what it is. It's a social game. So yeah, multiplayer.
Wrap it up with you, VR Ninja.
All day multiplayer. The one that's on the tip of my tongue is someone actually already said in the chat here. It's Population 1. That I honestly think that has so much potential to be like our Fortnite. Obviously, there's no real. Well, actually, no, there is fort building in that too. So
Yep, there is.
I think that actually, if it's pushed properly and if it's actually played by the right people, let's say us, then it really does have a really good shot at just becoming huge and really pushing VR forward.
Yeah,
like, big time.
I agree. I think so. Obviously, I am with all you. All I really play is multiplayer games for the most part. There aren't many single player games I stay too long into. I also think that, and this will go into the next question on what you guys think needs to come to get that multiplayer game right, because there's a lot of pitfalls and problems that come with VR multiplayer games on it that have killed basically a lot of other ones. But one of the things I think it needs to do the most, and then I want your guys' take, is I think Population 1, that's the game I'm looking forward to the most that I think is going to have this ability. Whatever multiplayer game comes, it has to take some elements that are wildly successful in console gaming or normal gaming that people feel familiar with, because it's scary enough to make the leap over to VR. If they feel familiar with it, and Population 1 has a lot of familiarity to basically Fortnite, the game that we shall not name, it's going to drive people over to it because they're going to feel comfortable. They're going to feel comfortable and have the social interaction. So what do you guys think needs to be done with the multiplayer game? This is open to anyone to finally have a player base, to finally open out the gate right. What's it going to take?
Give every top streamer a Valve Index and pay them all to stream the game for 6 months straight, and we will have millions of people in VR. Really, like, where the streamers go, the gamers go. That's how kind of gaming has been for the past couple of years. It's not awesome, but that's kind of just how things are right now. Yeah, so streamers, I think also the resolution of games, not physical resolution, but if you look at how much detail is in a game, a lot of times our games kind of lack that. I'm not talking visual. I'm talking about the whole scope of the game and what you're doing, and the small details. That's what I mean by that. And I think that once we get a game that is like really well-rounded in terms of the gameplay, that's something that'll change for multiplayer games.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think that any of these games, this is going to be, I don't know if I won't even say this. So, obviously there's a big stigma on console gamings of any form of pay-to-play, any form of microtransactions, any form of subscriptions. Every time you see a game coming out with microtransactions, anything that has the EA title on it, it's going to lead to tons of YouTuber videos about it. Do you think, I know I would hate to see this introduced in VR so quickly, but are there places in VR for microtransactions or things like this to encourage developers to see a money train and to constantly innovate? Do any of you, and this is open to anyone, feel pay-to-play or microtransactions or anything like that are ready for VR yet?
Rec Room already has them.
Do they? I think I missed that.
Rec Room has them. Rec Room has them as far they're cosmetic, but it does have it now. So we're already headed that way.
Yeah, so there's also a big difference between pay-to-play and microtransactions.
Agreed.
You look at like I don't know, Apex Legends isn't pay to play, but you can still buy heroes. But still, let's just say Apex Legends. That's an EA game, terribly known for microtransactions, pay to play. So I am very, very split on microtransactions because I want these devs, especially VR devs, to make as much money as possible so that they can innovate, make the next thing, especially in the VR space. But there's that fine line, and you cannot cross that. People are generally okay nowadays with, okay, you can unlock this white cape for your hero, but you could also buy it. Mm-hmm. People are generally okay with that. It's whenever you lock things behind a paywall that people hate. So as long as you walk that line to where it is, man, I don't know, honest maybe, not taking advantage of players. As long as you're walking that line, I don't see a problem with microtransactions getting into VR games.
I think PokerStars has it too right now. I think they kind of changed it up recently, where you used to have you could buy credits that could buy store purchases, but you had an open store. Now they have it where it's like unique things per like 24 hours, and they're so expensive now. Like if you want to get one of those legendaries, you're either playing for a year, or paying $20 for one of those things. And I'm all for it. I mean, no one's forcing them to buy those things. They're just cosmetic. And if that's making PokerStars get better for everyone, that works for me.
Right.
There's the option. It's free. It's a free game. You download it. People tend to forget that these games that are riddled with microtransactions, like Apex Legends or name whatever, League of Legends.
Yep.
They are free. They're free. So you don't have to pay for anything. It's your brain if you decide. But that's as long as there's no paywall.
Yeah, I'm agree with that.
So yeah.
Before the next topic, anything you want to add, DyVRsion?
I know for me personally, I'm the type of person that if the game's free, I'm not going to pay for some skins. I'm just going to play and use my own gaming abilities instead of something that's not going to improve my gaming skills. So for me, I want the developers to, of course, make their money, and microtransaction won't work for me personally, but I know it's a big deal out there. So for me, it wouldn't work. I prefer just pay for the game and then play. But microtransactions work for the younger crowd these days, so I think it can be a good thing.
So, right. Well, there's also kind of, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but there's also the flip side too. The way that these free-to-play games have come about, at least the honest ones, it's kind of like old school shareware, where you pay however much you want. Like I played like 60, 70 hours of Apex Legends, and I figured, dude, these guys made something awesome. I want to reward them. I played this much time in this game, and I'm going to keep playing it. I'm going to pay them some money. So I think I paid like $40 in microtransactions. That was my donation because I felt it was worth it. So yeah, it's like old school shareware stuff.
It's perception.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. It's the perception. It's what they're calling it. You know what I'm saying? If it were simply called a donation, it wouldn't be so frowned upon. But if it's hey, you're going to get this hat or this character, or God forbid, here, you can fly and you're invincible. That's where the problem comes in, because it's like, okay, well, or especially if you're the one that can't afford this stuff, and you go in there and someone does have pay to play, and they're just, mopping the floor with you, and you're like, man, I'm poor, I can't even buy this stuff. They don't even want to play the game. So it can actually hurt the game as well. So that's what they need to look at as well. That's what I think.
So thank you, by the way, Steve Droomheller of Conquer Reality, for the super chat. Thank you very much. He's enjoying the show, guys. So I think we're doing a pretty good job so far. I have two social-based questions, and these questions they're going to come up later on. I kind of want to hear what you guys have to say about them now. So the first one's probably on the easier to discuss side. With VR being, in my mind, and this is an opinion of mine, is that it's more of a personal technology than console gaming. You're in it, the actions you do it are you. That is much more personal than a joystick. When we start getting into social-based games, VR Chat, Rec Room, and it's only a matter of time before once VR does get adopted at a quicker pace, those types of games are going to flourish even more. Is there a different social etiquette? How is that going to evolve with VR? Because I think how we interact in VR, being more personal, is there more consequences to our social interactions than, say, console gaming? Or any of your takes on that? And I'm going to start with DyVRsion.
Well, Well, I grew up playing console games, and I've been playing mostly single player. I didn't really get much into multiplayer growing up, so I didn't have that much interaction with that type of gaming. But I definitely think that social interaction is important as far as being respectful and things like that. And I think with VR, with how more personalized and immersive it is, it can be even more effective than just a pancake game and playing on console. So I think really need to take action and make sure we are actually focused on making sure that that type of social interaction is not just overlooked and that it's taken seriously, because it can really affect people in a negative way if you got some troll out there affecting some small kid that's playing in a regular room with somebody else on VR chat.
Thrillseeker?
Yeah, it's funny. I was kind of not against what you're saying, but a little bit until you mentioned the kid. Because I'm not a kid. I don't think of the kids. I think of teenagers or adults. Somebody's really harassing you, dude. Just exit the game. Like,
Yeah. I have two kids, so that's kind of
yeah, totally. And so whenever you mention that about a kid getting harassed, I see it all the time. Sometimes it's really playful and it's fun. It's that's kind of a hard question, to be honest, because I'm a person that I kind of like doing the trolling sometimes. I kind of like doing the the BM. Whenever you like beat somebody in a game, you're like, you suck. But in terms of other stuff, that's gaming culture. That's internet culture. That's always going to be there. You can't do anything about that. It's always going to be, the more you try to stop it, the more it's going to be rampant. You're going to become a meme. But in terms of other things, harassment, sexual harassment, it's going to be the exact same way that it's handled on the internet now. Very stiffly, and it's not going to be acceptable. So,
VR Ninja?
I agree 100% with Thrill. It's no different between the two mediums. It's exactly the same. People are still going to be disrespectful. People are still going to be harassing people. I mean, I was in Rec Room last week, and this little girl, I don't even know how old she was. How could I, right? These guys were calling her, racial slurs and being sexual and doing all this stuff. And it's like, and then she spoke, and I could have swore to God she was like a little kid, and it really kind of bothered me. I actually had to jump in and intervene myself too. But seriously, I mean, you're right. This is gaming culture. I mean, this is going back to when Xbox Live first came out on original Xbox. I mean, someone comes in and calls someone, an F word or some other slur. It's going to happen. Have I ever done it? I have been young, so maybe. So there's nothing you can really do about it. It's just no different than, let's really be real life, social media. It's no different. Just got to be respectful, and maybe people just need to teach their kids better, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. It's gaming culture. It's not going anywhere. I think it's gonna be off-putting at first in VR. To like, if you experience it in console gaming, you got your entire room. They're kind of not in your face. They are literally can get in your face in VR, which will be an adjustment period to many, and how you react to it. You'll find the right people. You can log off. I know you shouldn't have to log off. I did see that in the comment. I get that. You shouldn't have to log off because someone's being a jerk to you. But that is, unfortunately, there's really not much we can do about it in a virtual world other than there will be good people. Keep searching for them. But I wanted to start with that kind of softball topic on the social interaction to get in this one. There's not going to be an answer for it, but I'm looking for your opinion on it. It's only a matter of time, and I say that very confidently, before VR gets big enough where a news organization, and they already have, I've seen it blow up on Twitter a week and a half ago, where they're going to bring up violence in video games, and specifically things like Grand Theft Auto modded, which you'll see in the background here. I saw it come up when the defector interrogation scene happened, where some people were just having fun punching the crap out of a guy for no reason. I thought it was hilarious, but it devolved very, very quickly on Twitter, bringing up the ethical limits of, is this dangerous because it's VR? Is it going to be an outlet? Is it going to lead to real life? So let's get this question out the way. Your honest thoughts on it. We'll start with DyVRsion.
Yeah, it got deep quick.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to games, movies, and all that, things like that, I don't really think it's going to change who you are in the real life. I could, shoot somebody in the video games, but in real life, I wouldn't even come close to hurting somebody. So I don't think it's gonna convert anybody into being physical or violent or anything like that. So I think it's up to choice. I think, of course, there's with age limits with anything. So I think, of course, you can't control that. It's all about parenting. What parent lets a kid do what. But it's kind of freedom, and you're in America here. You got play what you want to play, and developers make what they want to make. So it's kind of up to each person's choice. But as far as repercussions on if it will convert somebody into doing something that they normally wouldn't do because of a virtual experience, I don't necessarily think so.
Thorough?
I'm just gonna hit this really hard, really hard.
Let's do it.
So I am scared, very scared, that something is going to pop up on the news. Some shooting, some crazy, something happens, and it's going to be linked to they were trained how to shoot in VR, and then people freak out, and they have no idea what it is. They have no idea what VR is even, but now they know that all they think of is in the headlines, VR trained a kid to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that's false. We all know that if you're violent, you're going to be violent. Okay, I'm not going to get into that sort of stuff because I'm not a psychiatrist. But it's something that everybody has to take really carefully and don't jump to conclusions about things. And it's going to happen. Conclusions are going to be jumped on by news outlets. It's just kind of a matter of time. Just waiting for that to happen, unfortunately.
And VR Ninjoe?
It is absolutely inevitable. It's like Mortal Kombat back in the 90s. Absolutely inevitable. And, I mean, think about it. Back then, ripping somebody's head off and you could see their spine and everything, and suddenly that was a murder simulator. So now imagine where we're at. I shouldn't be smiling about it because, unfortunately, it is going to happen. And it is bad, obviously, because, obviously, it's... I can't even talk, but it is bad. But then you also think about what's it going to do for the industry? What did it do for Mortal Kombat?
Yep, that's true.
It's horrible to think that way, but what did it do for those games? It pushed us into a whole new generation of fighting games, and brought something into the mainstream. That could actually happen again. I don't want that to happen again, but again, it is inevitable, especially with things like the Quest, because smaller kids are getting the things now. They're very accessible. So now you're going to have kids that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and it might actually come to that where, I mean, God forbid, and I hope this doesn't happen, of course, we get another school shooting or something like that. I mean, a big one. I mean, obviously there's been a lot of them, but do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And you're right. They could say, yeah, they were being trained in virtual reality. These are absolute simulators to train killers. And that actually could happen, and I hate to say it, but I think it is going to happen because, especially in this country, parental groups, they're all up in arms, and they got to blame something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, Mothers Against VR. That's the next thing.
What do you guys think
never?
When it inevitably happens, when that news article, and it might not be for the worst case scenario, it might not be a real world tragedy that is linked to VR. It just may be the slow news cycle, and they decide that now's the time to bring up the age-old gaming causes violence debate. When that happens, for whatever reason it does, what's the best way for us to avoid, the outrage and to get through that? Because I think with you brought up the Mortal Kombat experience, they banned that one for a little bit, but that was the first one. They took it off the shelves. It happened again with, if we're talking way in the future, no Russians in Call of Duty. That happened. They had to update it. They'll literally tell you a spoiler about it before you started the level. That way you knew exactly what you're getting into. When it inevitably happens in VR, and this will be open to everybody, what do you think the outcome is of it? Is there a knee-jerk reaction that's going to change VR, or are they just going to adapt a little better since this happened so many times before?
Like anything else, we'll adapt. Because it's, you know what I mean? Not the first time, definitely not the last time. That something is going to just trigger. And yeah, we're going to have to adapt. That's all there is to it. They're going to, going back to Mortal Kombat real quick, that is the reason that the rating system exists.
Yep.
So there will be something similar for this. That's my prediction anyway. I could be wrong. But there will be something similar to this. Then I guess you got to tell you, after VR, there's going to be something else. There could possibly be AR at that point if they ever get to that point. You see what I'm saying? It's just going to keep on going. Can't do anything about it.
And by the way, to the chat, I see you talking about the green screen. That is not
looks like you're getting swatted right now.
That is not a guy with a gun.
Oh my god, dude! This is such a serious topic, and it looks like you're getting swatted right now.
I swear to God, there's not a guy with a gun behind my back. That is the video behind me of the guy playing Grand Theft Auto. That is not me getting shot at. So this is that. That was that. Yeah, that was a bad way to start that. Oh man, let me fix this. All right, guys, going on to one of the final questions before we kind of go into what maybe the chat wants to talk about or any topics you guys want to do. Let's get into the fun debate. It happened. I made a video about it. I think a few other people made a video about it. What is Gen 2 going to look like, guys? How long are we going to wait for it? What is the key features it needs to have to be considered Gen 2? And what do you expect to maybe be part of Gen 2? It's a long question, I know, that we don't even know is possible yet or you think may be coming. We'll start with DyVRsion, and this might last for a little bit because that's a big, loaded question.
Yeah, that is a big question. As far as Gen 2, I definitely think we're a couple years away from Gen 2 with what we have right now. For me, Gen 2 would have to be more immersiveness. I don't think it's just simply just field of view or higher resolution. I think it's more maybe getting bodysuits in there, full body contact sensations, and hand interaction, not hands where you got the whatever you call it. We can see your hands, but actual sensation and feeling things. I mean, I know the Index is trying to do that, but it's still not coming close to a Gen 2. That's just an option to try to give you more immersiveness, which is a process. But I think we're still a couple years away from that. And I think another thing for me is comfort. Having a headset is not comfortable, especially the Quest. I think it's the worst headset as far as comfortability. I get headaches within 30 minutes, and on the Vive, I'm just fine. So I think once we have a headset that you almost can't even feel on your head and not knowing that you're in VR is another key area.
Thrillseeker?
All right. Yeah, my argument is that we're going to have Gen 1 VR for a long time. And I'm just putting Gen 1 in the idea that your body is controlling a puppet. Which that's essentially what VR games are now. It's not one-to-one by any means. It may feel like it is, may trick you to that it's one-to-one interaction, but it's not one-to-one. You're essentially controlling a puppet. The devs from Boneworks have talked about it in a couple podcasts that they've been on. That's one thing why that game looks so good too. But Gen 1 will be iterative, resolution, field of view, controllers, haptics. True Gen 2, which is going to completely make Gen 1 obsolete, is going to be a totally different type of interface. And I'm going to sound nuts right now. I got a tinfoil hat on, but we're talking Neuralink, man. We're talking Neuralink.
Ooh.
We're talking Elon Musk. We're talking brain connections. We're talking no more bad thumbsticks. Just you don't need a high resolution screen whenever it's projected in your mind. And it's not that crazy to think of because this technology is already in its infancy right now. It's you could increase the resolution of a panel or make your fingers track perfectly or provide vibrations to your body all you want, but that's not going to make the previous generation necessarily obsolete. Whenever we move to Gen 2, true Gen 2, which I'm thinking 10, 15 years, it's going to be the real VR, the real virtual reality.
You do realize if you get that Neuralink, it's going to be something you're going to have to show your face because we want to see it implanted and how it works.
Dude, sign me up. I will do a face reveal if I get a Neuralink.
And VR Ninjoe, your take?
First off, real quick shout out to Wishful because I see him in the chat and he's cool.
Wishful should be on the next one of these.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so a lot of what we're talking about here is actually Gen 3. Gen 2, I think you're right, Thrill. It's going to be iterative. I mean, we're kind of in 1.5 now. I guess. It still feels like 1. But I think that it's all going to come down to the experiences more than the actual tech. The tech we kind of have. kind of. I mean, if you could hack, I mean, you could probably hack it together pretty good now. You get the bodysuits with the haptics, you got the Vive trackers you put on your feet and all that stuff. You got the Walk OVR where you can walk in the in the game and all that stuff. So the technology exists. Okay, it's the experiences that I think is going to really take it to the next level, and that's I think we're probably about 5 or 10 years away from that. Unfortunately, I really do.
Yeah, I've spoken with Thrill about this quite a bit, and I think it's super far out there. I don't know if we're ever going to get, if one day you're going to get an announcement and like, oh yeah, we're Gen 2 now. It may just be so small upgrades over time that it all blends together at one point, and really it's just when that one package, when headset comes out with everything better, then maybe someone will be like, hey, that's the definitive Gen 2. I don't know. If there's anything that I want that would be Gen 2 for haptics, I want to get shot. I don't know why. I want to get
right in the head.
I want to get shot.
You were close to it with that guy behind you earlier.
I was very close.
It's true.
I want to get shot. I want to feel it. I want that kind of immersion. I don't know what that says about the masochist in me, but I don't know. That's what I'm looking for from my Gen 2 is as much haptic feedback as I can get to just make me feel part of it. Because I don't expect the resolution to go bananas. I mean, the human eye can only see so far anyway. Resolution, graphics are only going to look so good. But how the game makes me feel that I'm there is going to change my mind on how good a game is compared to how bad it could be.
Yeah.
One thing also about the Gen 2, and I know I made this debate and I was incorrect, but where would you consider the Valve Index to be right now? Did it push us further, or is it just another better looking one?
Are we going? All right, yes, anybody? I'll go.
Anybody.
I don't have it, so go ahead.
Yeah, to be honest, man, the Index and Rift S feel like not Gen 1. They feel like what a consumer version 1 should be. You know, we were how am I going to say this? It was so different, the Vive and original, the CB1, the Oculus Rift, and I kind of felt like those both were not consumer version 1s. They were still prototypes. It was the DK3 compared to what we have now, and I mainly say with controller inputs and the software that we had to run. There wasn't an established rule for VR, and now we have an established rule for VR, and this is the first generation of headsets that is using that rule of what buttons you use for what. It's like how we had WASD for keyboards. Mm-hmm. We finally have that now, and this kind of feels like this is true Gen 1. We're going to see iterative bumps. If you're going to call an iPhone 6 versus an iPhone 6S a Gen 2, technically, yeah, it's another generation, but this is like the first consumer headsets in my mind.
Yep, no, I'd agree with that. There's a couple in the comments right now. Wishful was thinking of Oculus. I think they did say they were going to discuss Gen 2 this year, although they didn't really hint at much of that. But I know, are any of you guys going to be going to the next OC in September, I think it is?
I'm not cool enough.
Neither am I. Either am I.
I'll try, but if I keep making Oculus videos, I might not be able to.
Yeah, that is true. God, yeah. I want to talk about that so bad, but I know we can't.
They might not want me to go.
Yeah. I took mine back, but hey, can I have a free trip to San Jose? Right? That sounds awesome.
Hey, I'm getting another one, okay?
So speaking of Oculus, though, real quick, I am kind of curious to this. Oculus and Facebook are obviously, it's my opinion, but I think they're number one right now on a VR as a company moving things forward. And I want there to be competition. I'm big into capitalism and competition. Do you guys see Valve, HTC, who's going to be the competitor right now? Because as I'm seeing it right now, there isn't one, and no one's really taken the lead to try to be. And I'm going to let this one open to the floor.
HTC doesn't know what they're doing. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say HTC was probably the main competitor, and they don't seem to have any focus right now. None. I mean, are they going to be a HMD company? Are they going to be doing Viveport? I mean, obviously they're trying to do both, but they're not really pushing one or the other. I do see a little bit more Viveport than anything, but it's still not really a really compelling choice, unfortunately. So I don't really know if there is a real competitor coming. I just don't see it right now. I mean, the Index, more than anything, I would say is complementary just because it is Steam VR. I mean, if nothing else, that is kind of like the iterative upgrade to the Vive, I think. Yeah, I don't know. What were you going to say, Thrill? Sorry about that.
Yeah, and this is kind of why I'm not going to OC6. Anyways, right now, I don't. Sorry, Eric, I don't mean to plug myself. I'm working on a video right now that's all about like the history of why the Vive, why HTC is where it is now. It's not in a great spot in the minds of VR consumers, and the thing is that we need them, dude. Like, we need HTC to be in this race. We cannot let Oculus be number one. We cannot let them. Okay, they're making headsets cheaper and better than anybody else right now. There is no $400 PC VR headset that is as good as the Rift S, and people know that. And that's cool and all, but there's no competition. There's nobody else fighting in that price range. So, like, we need somebody, dude. We cannot let them take over because, yeah, okay, you got a $400 headset. That's awesome right now. But you look at the history of any tech company that they create awesome stuff at the beginning. Everybody jumps on board. They take over. And now they're in control of the entire market. That's not cool with me. We need competition, and we need it like soon now.
Yeah.
So
I'm 100%
Cosmos needs to come out $500, $600 max because it is better than on paper. It is better than the Rift S. So people might be okay with spending an extra $200 on the higher resolution, extra tracking sensor, and not being associated with Facebook as well, which I don't have a problem with personally. It doesn't bother me. But yeah, I'm just saying that we need that competition like bad.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because Oculus can do whatever the hell they want right now. Realistically, they can do whatever they want, and I'm pretty sure that's the way Zuck likes it. But it's not fair.
Competition breeds
at the
innovation.
same time, also things feel very stagnant, though. I mean, what was it, 2 months ago that the Rift S and the Quest came out? Everybody was like, "Oh, this is so exciting! This is so exciting!" And now we're just like, "Now what?"
Well, what are you guys playing right
now?
now?
So HTC decided to turn that faucet off.
Yeah,
what
are we all playing right now? I'll tell you what I'm playing. I'm playing some Beat Saber every now and then. Pavlov. That's basically what I'm playing. I also played those when I bought my Vive up here. Like that, I'm playing the same games that I used to play.
Yeah.
Anything from you, DyVRsion? I don't want to. I saw you talk. I kind of cut you off there.
You cutting in?
Oh, I had cut you off earlier. I was seeing if you had anything to say about the subject.
Yeah.
I definitely need competition with the Quest, and they don't have it like Thrill and Ninjoe was talking about. Yeah, I mean, they're two different headsets. You're talking about the Index, that's kind of like the Cadillac of cars, and then you got the Chevy Cruze, which is the Quest that does everything. Both of them get you from A to B, but they're different prices, but they both essentially do the same thing. And we need another competition for that Chevy Cruze instead of just Quest.
Dude, I got hammered for saying the Index was a Cadillac. People were like, Cadillac doesn't have quality. I'm like, boy, CTSVs.
I mean, they are going. I'm in the car
like
business.
120,000 car.
They're going downhill. I'm going to be with them on that one.
Oh, man, come on.
I'm joking. I have a history with Cadillacs that are not good. So with this being, we've almost been an hour. I want to keep this under an hour. So I do want to give each of you the floor for a little bit of time. Give us your thoughts, your plugs, anything you want to say about yourself, your channel, and the state of VR that you would like everyone to know your takes on. I'm going to start with DyVRsion.
Yeah, I'm fresh to the VR community. I'm looking to get in. I love the community. Anything VR, as far as all these enthusiasts and anybody from new to old, everybody's great, and we just kind of support each other. But I got on YouTube recently. I love doing it. You can check out my channel. It's DyVRsion, DyVRsion, as well as Twitter, Instagram. I also got a Facebook page. But if you're looking for gameplay, reviews on video games, as well as a little bit of news, check me out on YouTube.
All links for everyone's channel, by the way, are in the description. So anyone who's here listening to this, if you need their links, check the description. Thrillseeker, you're up.
Oh, yeah. I am Thrill. My channel is Thrillseeker. And I make weekly news or VR news recaps. I kind of throw in a little bit of fun into it as well. But the real meat of my content is my reviews and a little bit of commentary style stuff that I do. So if you want to, stay up to news or stay up with the news, you can check out my channel. Every Tuesday, I have Tuesday News Day. That's pretty much it. I mean, just go check it out. I think you'll like what you see.
And my name is Ninjoe. My channel is VR Ninjoe, no space. I do update once a week, typically on Tuesdays. I am getting going to be doing quite a few reviews. I've already got a couple I'm ready to upload, actually, as well as news opinions and Let's Plays. And yeah, just come out, check us out, and if you like what you see, go and subscribe.
All right, guys. So I'm Eric for President. I thank you all for coming to the first episode of the VR Arena. We will be doing these hopefully weekly. The next one may be on not tomorrow, but the Monday after that. We'll try to do it each time. You don't need to be a creator. You don't need to be anything specific. If you love VR, you have VR thoughts, and you're ready to share opinions, please hit me up on the Discord. We'll get you into the group, get you a chance to be on it as well. We hope to keep doing these with topics. If you have any questions, if you see anything that you'd like to be discussed in future episodes, please hit us up as well. I think this is, a lot of times we make videos, all of us in this chat right now are content creators, and we make videos that we have to be very direct, very to the point a lot of times, and make them, they have to be fine-tuned products because everyone's time is valuable, and it needs to be worth it when you watch a video. But a lot of times that means if we, maybe you bring up a good question in the comments that we just couldn't elaborate on, this is our opportunity, or anyone's opportunity, to fully flesh out their thoughts, whether they're popular opinion or not. I think it's a good opportunity for everyone to be able to voice a VR opinion, where in a regular video we just don't have the ability sometimes to do that. So if you did like this, please leave a like, let us know how we did, that way we can keep making these better each week. With that being said, we'll sign out, and we'll see you next time, VR Space Cowboys.